All right, everyone, we've gotten to that point in this video series on visual presentation of data where I tell you the 10 things that I hate about bad plots. These things drive me absolutely crazy, and I'm going to tell you what they are so that maybe you don't show me a plot that has them. Okay, so let's get into it. The reason I have these 10 things that I hate is not because I'm a really picky person who is a little obsessive. That may or may not be true. It doesn't really matter. But it's because I really like figures that are compelling, clear, correct, and concise. And so these are the things that I always look for when I'm looking for a draft, including drafts of my own figures, to make sure that I'm achieving these goals as much as possible. So here we go, the 10 things that I hate about bad plots. The first thing that I hate about bad plots is when I look at it and I have no idea what's going on. It should be really easy and obvious what is the main point of this figure without reading a ton of text, including the caption. If I have to dig through the caption or the methods to figure out what the heck is going on, what I'm supposed to know about this plot, I'm not going to be happy about it. The second thing that I hate about bad plots is I'm going to be asking myself, is the most visually salient part of the plot the most important thing as well? What I hate is sometimes I look at a figure and it has all boring colors and there's one thing that's in bright red, okay? So like I have my mammal visual cortex. I love looking at things that are bright red. So I'm looking at the thing that's bright red because it's drawing my visual attention. And it turns out it is not important. It's just like one figure that has a label on it that's red. And the most important thing is in gray over here. I hate that, okay? If you want me to look at something because it's important, make it the red thing. And if you make it the red thing, it better be important. I really don't like it when there's a cognitive dissonance between what is visually salient and what's actually conceptually important about the figure. The third thing that I really don't like is when the axes are unlabeled or unclear. I hate plots where just floating in space and it's like, what are we even looking at? What's being plotted against what? Okay? This happens all the time when I see axes that are unlabeled, labeled incorrectly, labeled with bad capitalization and bad font sizes. It drives me absolutely crazy. If you're going to show me a plot, please label the axes. One other thing that drives me crazy are when there are no units and there's no error bars, or when there are error bars, you don't tell me what they are, okay? We are scientists and engineers. When we plot data, there are units. And if there are no units because in arbitrary units, tell me that there are no units because in arbitrary units, it doesn't matter, okay? You have to tell me, is it in kilograms? Is it in meters? Is it in pounds? Whatever it is, it's got to be labeled. Whatever it is you measured or you computed, even if it's a metric you made up, you have to label it. Tell me what the units are. And if you're going to plot error bars, tell me what they are. Is it standard deviation? Is it variance? Is it standard error? Is it percentile confidence interval? Whatever it is, it really does matter. And so don't just put things up there without labeling them. Please label units and label your error bars. The fifth thing that drives me crazy is when I see font sizes and fonts that are inconsistent. When I see a plot where something is in one font and something else is a different font altogether, and something is much bigger than the other for no reason whatsoever. And sometimes there's fonts that's like absolutely invisible. Okay, they're way too small for whatever it is that's being shown. Sometimes I see fonts that are being squished because somebody obviously took something that they exported that was of this aspect ratio and just squished it. Okay, I see this all the time. Drives me absolutely bonkers. I hate seeing that. So are the font sizes and the fonts chosen consistent and actually mean something and are actually legible because I want to see them? Okay. I had a whole video about choosing color maps. It drives me crazy when color maps are chosen are inappropriately chosen for whatever is being visualized. I hate it when there's like a diverging data set where things are really negative and really positive and those two colors don't stand out from each other. So like the most visually salient thing is totally lost and buried in the figure. I want to see what is the biggest thing versus the smallest thing and I can't see it because the color map doesn't work. Or when 0 is not actually 0. Right? It looks like this is neutral where it's not. And are the coding of the colors versus the saturation easily interpretable? Oftentimes we're trying to multiplex, and so there's different color schemes that we're using. If those don't make sense, it takes so much effort to digest a plot where the color map doesn't make sense. And so this is something where you not only have to be mindful of it, you probably need to, kind of like actually look at it and talk to people who don't look at the data set as much as you do to see, does this make sense to you? Is this digestible? Can you actually easily interpret the color scheme and understand what's going on here without me standing here and explaining it to you? If you are giving a presentation, even if you're giving a presentation and explaining it, if you're explaining an intuitive color map, people will get it immediately. If you're explaining an unintuitive color map, people are going to be like, wait, you just said it, but like I totally forgot. Can you say it again? That's not good. You don't want to have to say things more than once. The seventh thing that really bothers me is when there are things that are superfluous or redundant. Okay, sometimes there's just like a legend here and a legend right next to it in the panel next to it. It doesn't need to be in both places. Can anything possibly be taken away from this figure. And if it is possible, do it. Okay, there should be nothing in the plot that is not what is necessary to convey the point, to be compelling, to be concise, to be correct. That is what you want. Anything that is not accomplishing that and can be skipped should be skipped. Okay, so those are the first 7. I'm going to leave you in suspense for a second about the last 3, and I'm going to show you an example, a horrible made-up example of things that I hate about bad plots. And now I'm going to show you a real example because I didn't want to hate on anyone else's plot. I made this plot, and it is terrible, and we're going to fix it together, okay, using these principles of 10 things that I hate about bad plots. So here's the plot. It's really bad, okay? Like, this just makes me want to cry. So there's so many things that are wrong with this that I don't even know where to start right now, but let's fix it together, at least one thing at a time, okay? The first thing that's wrong with it is that it doesn't fit in the box, okay? This plot is off in the bottom left corner. It's totally squished. It should at least fill the spot. It should fill the box, okay? And it has these numbers on it, and I think what it is actually like labeling the quantity that is being plotted on the XY axis, okay? And so this 8 here, I think it means that this dot is at 8, but you can kind of see that already by the vertical axis, and so these numbers don't really need to be there. So let's at least start by fixing those things, okay? So let's stretch it out. So it's at least appropriately sized in the box it's supposed to go in, and we don't need those values labeled. Okay, we just don't need them. All right, so we're making progress here. I'm happier already, but there's a couple of things that are still wrong with this plot. And one of the things that you can kind of see by our checklist earlier is that the labels, there's a lot of things wrong with the labels. The axes are not labeled. We do not know what the vertical axis is and what is the horizontal axis. I mean, what is this thing really? I have no idea. Like, this plot is completely meaningless right now because it is unlabeled. We have this carrot, kale, corn thing over here. I don't know what's going on. Let's come back to that later, okay? The other thing that's wrong with it is that you can see that the tick marks on the vertical axis are totally different size and font than the horizontal axis. Drives me totally bananas. So let's fix some of this. All right, cool. We're going to make, you can see I'm calming down already. We can make it so that the font sizes are consistent between the vertical axis and the horizontal axis, and we're actually going to add labels with units, all right? The vertical axis is now amount consumed in kilograms. I'm so happy. And the horizontal axis is months from 1 to 12, okay? So far, so good, and we've also cleaned up the plot in a couple of different ways, and that's good, okay? We're doing well so far. There's now these error bars. Oh, what's going on with the error bars? No idea what's going on with the error bars. There's nowhere, don't know what's going on, okay? The other thing that's actually kind of weird about this plot right now is that the way in which the lines are connecting each month, like month 1 to 3, there's this curvy line that's connecting them. That's probably just a rendering thing. I don't know why it needs to be curved. Like, it doesn't convey any information. In fact, it's implying something inaccurate about the data by like connecting these 2 dots in a curvy way, right? We're interpolating data that's not there. I didn't take those measurements. I do not know what it is at month 2. I have no data, okay? So there's no reason for that curvy line to be connecting them. So let's fix some of that too. All right, cool. So we also stretched it out so it was all squished. And there's now straight lines connecting each of the dots as a function of months. We're happier already. We also made it so that the little symbols are now filled in, okay? This is important as an aesthetic point. It wasn't wrong before, but it's just so much nicer and easier to see this way because it was just like not dark enough for me to see with my eyes about what's going on. This plot is a lot more clear, okay? We can see that there's 3 lines. This blue thing, the green thing, and kind of the brownish thing. And they're connected, at least not, the color bars have gone away because they didn't mean anything at all. And we have now straight lines connecting it. And it's okay to connect them in this particular case because the horizontal axis is months, so it's time, okay? So you can already see that it's because it's sequential. So it's okay to connect month 1 to month 3 because it's sequencing time. They actually have something to do with each other in time. So I'm going to connect them with a straight line. There's a legend up there, okay? And the legend is not consistently capitalized. Carrots has a capital C, kale has a capital K, corn has a lowercase c. There's no reason for any of this. I don't know what's going on. It's also taking up way too much space at the very top of this legend. It really doesn't need to be there. So what we're going to do next is we're going to label it, and we're going to label it a lot better. We're going to make a tiny little legend, and we're going to actually tuck it into this white space that used to be wasted here, okay? This part of the plot was wasted because there was nothing there. It was conveying no information, and I was taking up extra space by putting the legend at the top. So I'm going to fix that by making a smaller legend. I'm going to tuck it in so that it's occupying a negative space that was otherwise wasted in the plot. The other thing I've done is that I've changed the colors a little bit. Okay, why have I done so? Well, I told you earlier, don't use default colors. Use colors that actually mean something. So if it's carrots, their carrots are orange, so I'm going to use orange. Kale is green, so I'm going to use green. Corn is yellow, so I'm going to use yellow. okay? And furthermore, I've changed the little symbols a little bit, and this is just slightly playful. Doesn't need to do this. I did not need to do this, but it was just kind of cute, right? Pears are kind of pointy, kale is leafy, so it's a triangle, and corn has kernels, and so it's a circle, all right? So it's just like a tiny bit layer of intuitiveness that we've added into both the color scheme of each of the 3 data sets, as well as the way in which the little symbols appear, okay? And the symbols really matter because if they are too similar to each other, and especially if they don't have different colors, it's really hard to parse. So the way that they are in different colors, the way they're different shapes, and the way that they're connected by these straight lines that allow you to follow that the orange line actually goes up and then comes back down, so you can actually follow that in the plot, that makes it much easier for me to consume this information. I've actually added a title for the plot as well, if that is something that you want. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to look at it and we're going to realize that those vertical lines are pretty unnecessary. This is a small point, but it is a point. Those lines had no purpose. They did not add anything to the plot. And so I got rid of them. All right. I'm going to make just a total judgment call here because technically I think these horizontal lines don't do much either. You don't really need them. But I'm keeping them for the reason that I think it actually makes the quantitative dots a little bit easier to interpret when I have some horizontal guidelines that correspond to the tick marks in a way that I didn't think I needed for the months. You can kind of see like, because they're just individual numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little easier to see like which dots correspond to month 5 in the same way that it's not as easy to see where exactly 13.5 was. And so this is a judgment call. I could have gotten rid of them. I think it would have been fine. But following the principle of getting rid of things that don't need to be there, the last change that I'm making to this plot is I've gotten rid of the vertical lines. Okay, that's the final version for now. We're going to stop here for now. So that's how I took one terrible plot that made me very angry, and I'm a lot calmer now. So those are the first 7 things that I hate about plots. We're going to keep going. These are the 7 things that I look for when I'm seeing an individual plot. When we start putting them together and storyboarding, having multi-panel plots, there's additional things that I look for that make me pretty upset and really angry when I see them. Number 8 is the flow of information and the order in which I want to be looking at the multi-panel plot the way that I should be consuming it. If I have to jump around because I'm supposed to look at here and then go back to the middle to put it back together, I get upset. Because that makes it so that the effort it takes me to understand the plot is not towards understanding the science and understanding the data. It's just piecing together what I'm supposed to look at, and I don't want to do that. So I think it is a responsibility of a good plot for the flow of information to be obvious so that my eye is guided in a logical way, usually from left to right and top to bottom, in order of how the data should be synthesized and put together so I understand the point of the plot. This one is purely aesthetic, but I think it's important. Are all the panels aligned in every direction? It drives me crazy when things are off by a few pixels. My students will tell you the number of times I will literally take a piece of paper, because I don't have a ruler in my office, and hold it up to their screen to show them that something is not actually aligned, okay? This is an embarrassing superpower that I have, and I think a lot of colleagues have as well. Are the panels actually aligned? And when there are empty spaces, especially large empty spaces in the figures, it drives me kind of bonkers because it is wasted space. We should put it to better use. If you have extra space, put something else that you can actually put there to convey information to your reader. Is it something, a diagram that you can put in to make it easier to understand this figure? Is it another piece of data that you can add to also supplement the point that you're making in this figure? There's always something that you can be doing to use that space better, okay? Space is not free. It actually costs cognitive. It doesn't just cost dollars because you have to print them on a piece of paper. It costs energy for us to look at a figure. And if there's an empty space, I would say that you should put it to better use. The 10th thing is about colors again, and it's about consistency of color, okay? It drives me bonkers when I have a color map that is not held consistently throughout the entirety of the paper, especially when the same color and the same shade starts to mean multiple things when you go between different figures. If pink means something in figure 2, it better darn well mean that exact same thing in figure 7, okay? If it means an opposite thing, it drives me even crazier. If it just means something totally different, it's no good, okay? So pick a color scheme and stick to it. And if you find it difficult to stick to the color scheme because things get complicated and it's difficult to carry that color scheme through, reevaluate the color scheme. There's probably another thing that you could be doing to better use that space. Color space is actually really complicated. There are lots of things going on. And there's a lot of tools for you to pick proper color schemes and color tools so that you're conveying sometimes orthogonal axes of information. Right? Like, is something bigger or smaller versus which direction is it pointed in? Okay, these are orthogonal pieces of information. And you can actually use combinations of colors. Maybe like one of them is saturation, and things get darker and darker, means it's bigger. And another one for the direction is like a circular color map, showing that the orientation of the vector, something like that, okay? So you can use things like that, but do it in a logical way so that you can actually have every color mean something and have that color scheme carry through so that for the entirety of your paper or for the entirety of your presentation, the same color means the same thing. If it doesn't, sometimes I get a little mad. I'll try to keep it under wraps. All right, so those are the 10 things, and I feel strongly about them. Not everyone does, and that's okay. This is my opinion. This is my videos. I'm telling you my opinion. And the reason I have these opinions is because I feel strongly that everything we do should serve this iterative process. Okay, this process should be adhered to because it is important, because this is how we're going to get to our overall goals of having figures that are compelling, that are clear, that are correct, that are concise. We'll come back to this over and over and over because everything is in the service of this. I've done something really cool. You've done something really cool. I want you to convey that to the world as clearly as possible so we can be as excited about it as you are about your work and about your science and about what you've achieved. So those are the 6 videos in the series. I hope you've had fun, and thanks so much for being here.